Hello, all you happy innovators. How have you been, huh? I haven't talked to you guys in a long time, and I apologize for that, but if you've tuned into my YouTube channel at all over the past month and a half or so, you can probably get a pretty good idea of what I've been doing in the meantime. And I missed you guys. I missed the Singularity. So I wanted to make one today. And what I want to talk about today is this experience that I had just last Friday. And it's kind of a long story, but it's just a really interesting one. So the story goes like this. My wife comes home from work, okay? And she throws this envelope down on the table, okay? And I look at it, and it's like a Ticketmaster envelope. So I open it up, and there's 2 tickets to the U2 concert for the Songs of Innocence and Experience tour. And I'm like, what is this? Like, how did you get these? Like, what are these? There are 2 tickets for U2. Like, where did you get them? And she's like, well, and here's the story. A friend of hers at work had purchased the tickets to go to the concert. And a family emergency had arisen, so this friend of my wife's was no longer able to go to the concert because she had to leave Massachusetts to go to visit her family. There was some kind of family emergency. And this friend of hers had kind of like asked a bunch of people if they would want the tickets, like if they would be able to go, so they would at least not go to waste, And she couldn't sell them or anything. And everybody that she asked was unable to go. So my wife hears about it, and gets a hold of these tickets, all right? So it was kind of weird, okay? There's a lot of weirdness to the story, at least to me, okay? And I'll get into all of it, but I thought it was strange that she couldn't give the tickets away for U2, okay? That's like, what? They're like the biggest band in the world, And people didn't want to go or couldn't go. And, to tell you the honest truth, it's the kind of thing that if I had to pay for the tickets, I wouldn't have gone. I wasn't going to go to the concert. And there's a whole slew of reasons that I'll get to about that, because that's really the crux of the story here. But, so my wife and I have these 2 free tickets for this concert. All right. Now, before I continue with the story, there's something that I need to explain to you. Okay. For me, U2 is one of the bands that has had a huge influence on me, okay? I was probably, for the majority of at least my young life, my young adult life, I was probably the biggest U2 fan that I knew of, okay? So much so that, it could be argued that I've literally modeled my life after them, okay? They were just my favorite band. That's a major understatement, okay? To say that U2 was my favorite band would be like a massive understatement, okay? I loved that band. I thought they were excellent. And, at least up until probably All That You Can't Leave Behind, they were one of those bands that I just thought got better and better with every album. There were some questionable moments, okay, like the Pop Mart thing and all that stuff, okay? But, I had gone to see U2. Well, okay, here's the story for you. When U2 came through Cleveland, where I grew up, on the Joshua Tree tour, I had a ticket to go. And on the day of the show, I got grounded. and I couldn't go to the concert. Okay. So I missed the Joshua Tree tour. Okay. To this day, it's just one of those major regrets that I have. But I did get to see them on the Zoo TV tour. Okay. And that was excellent. It was just one of the best concerts I've ever seen. And then I went to see them a second time on the All That You Can't Leave Behind tour. Okay, so there were a lot of tours that I didn't go to. But I did manage to go to 2 shows, 2 U2 concerts. Okay, and these were like religious experiences for me, you know, at the time anyway. But I guess the reason that I want to mention that is because ever since maybe the year 2000 on, I have slowly kind of lost my appreciation for them. There's a part of me that will always kind of remain loyal to them just because they were so important to me. And their older music is still very important to me. And I don't know, I think it's just one of those things, like, I've changed. You know, I've changed. It's kind of hard for me to believe that my relationship with the band U2 has deteriorated as much as it has, to the point where I can almost say, in all honesty, that I don't even really want to listen to their new music. Okay, like I don't even want to hear it, to give it a chance. I don't even care anymore. And that may not seem like a big deal to you. And you may or may not like them. You know, you may or may not be a U2 fan. But for me to say that is a major statement, okay? And it's one that has forced me to kind of examine what has happened, okay? Like, how could I go from like a rabid U2 devotee to someone who is almost completely uninterested in what they're doing? And it just shocks me. It just shocks me that I could change that much about something. And I've thought about it a lot. And the tickets for this concert, you know, this opportunity to go and see them for free, okay, was much appreciated, because I think it was probably the nicest gift I've gotten from anyone in a long time. I mean, we were gifted these tickets, and they were $200 a piece. Okay, so let's talk about that, okay, for a little bit. All right, we'll talk about the ticket price. Like, I don't know what is going on. I would imagine it has something to do with the changes in the record industry and how file sharing has affected the music industry, okay? And I know that now, and I can explain it to you in case you are unfamiliar with this, but the record industry has changed in a way where a recording artist used to sign a record deal, and the record company would get a percentage of the record sales and maybe a couple of other things like licensing for movies or soundtracks and, you know, compilation CDs, things like that. But ever since the advent of file sharing and these massive, you know, seismic changes in the record industry, the record companies now are signing with their artists what they call a 360 deal. And the 360 deal allows the record company to take a percentage of absolutely everything the band does. Okay, so, you know, ticket sales, t-shirts, stickers, merchandise, everything the band does that makes money, the record label is entitled to collect a percentage from everything. Now, I would imagine that has something to do with the modern day ticket prices for concerts, okay? Because the prices are off the chain. I mean, it's out of control how much you have to pay to go see a concert. I mean, and it's not because I'm an old man. I mean, I get it. Inflation, prices change, things change. But the tickets that we were gifted were kind of like nosebleeders, and they were $200 a piece. $400 for 2 nosebleed tickets. Think about that. We're not talking front row seats. And, to be honest with you, a lot of the reason why I don't go to see bands perform live that much anymore, at least bands that are on the level of U2 or something, stadium bands, is because the tickets are inaccessible to me. I can't afford $1,000 for a ticket for a concert. I can't. Even if I love the band. But I guarantee you, there's not a band I love that much where I would spend $1,000 on a freaking ticket for their concert. But I can't complain too much in this circumstance because the tickets were given to us for free. But to be honest with you, I couldn't help but notice while I was watching the show, kind of like watching the show with this appraisal, appraisal of the performance and whether it was worth the money, even though I didn't have to pay for the ticket. I mean, I still was thinking to myself, okay, this guy next to me spent, $200 a ticket or more, maybe. And, was he getting $200 worth of performance out of this artist, out of this band, even though it was U2, And they had the big screen and the split stage, and it was, it was pretty good. It was pretty good, which I can't believe I'm even saying that it was pretty good, because these guys are heroes to me, okay? At least they were. I guess they still are, but not for anything they've done in the recent past, okay? And, it bothers me, It bothers me because I'm a musician, and music is my life, man. It is, and it has been for a long time. And these guys, to me, are like my godparents. They're like my musical godparents, so important to me, so central to my core. And for me to go to this concert, and it was a huge production, it was. For me to walk out of the experience I wouldn't say thoroughly unimpressed, but, it could have been a lot better. It could have been a lot better, especially for $200 a pop. For the crap seats, We're not talking, like I said, we're not talking about front row. Now, to U2's credit, I have to say a couple of things. Okay? Whether you like them or not, or you hate them or whatever, that's fine. I get it, But I will say this, okay? That I know that in the past, especially with U2's concert ticket sales, there has been controversy, okay? Because you have these individuals that have access to the tickets, before they even go on sale, and they'll buy the tickets and mark them up at a really high price, and they'll sell them and profit from it, okay? And I know for a fact that the band, U2, was consciously trying to defeat that, okay? They were trying to come up with a way to defeat that. And I remember a few years back they toured, I think it was for the Vertigo tour, And there was this big mishap with ticket sales, and people were just furious that it shook down the way it did, and a lot of the seats wound up being empty. And there was, from what I remember anyway, okay, for as little as I cared at that time, the little bit of information that I got, I knew that there was some kind of controversy with their ticket sales. And so, to their credit, the other night, Friday night, on the Songs of Innocence and Experience tour, I did notice that U2 has begun to do something that's pretty clever. And I would imagine that it is because of this problem they were having with people buying the tickets and marking them up or whatever. And what they have done is, and this is pretty interesting, okay, and it's pretty clever and it's innovative, okay, U2 has started to do this thing where they're splitting the stage up, okay, and they're literally setting up smaller stages around the arena, and like these small platforms where like Adam Clayton is standing on this little square and the Edge is on the other side of like the arena on a small little square, and then maybe Larry Mullen Jr. is on the main stage, and they have Bono kind of roaming up and down this peninsula, that comes out into the audience. So I thought about it when I saw that, and it was kind of cool because when you really think about it, what they're doing is they're changing what a front row seat is. Okay? Like, they're playing around with that so that if someone buys a front row ticket, like to the main stage, that's not necessarily where they're going to be performing. And I could pretty much say that most of the show, I think, from my memory anyway, was performed on the smaller stage at the end of that peninsula that comes out into the audience, or on these, these two small little stages. Like, they did that. They played with that. And I thought that that was cool because I got it. It makes sense. Like, you buy a ticket and you don't realize that you're buying a ticket that's going to be right next to the Edge when he's standing on this platform playing. Like, you're right there. And there's no way to determine that before the concert starts, because it's a general admission area. Like, so I thought it was just kind of cool. That was one of the things that I noticed that was actually impressive to me, that they were thinking like that. And I can say that the show was a spectacular production, Of course it was. I mean, they're like billionaires, They can do anything they want. They have the best of everyone working on their show. So it better be good, But I will say this, that what disappointed me probably the most, okay, was the set list. The songs that they played, or better yet, the songs they chose to not play. All right? And like I said, I'm a lifelong fan. There are a few songs that I want to hear, And they pretty much really didn't play any of them. And I, you just want to like smack me, right? Because it's like, I got free tickets to this concert. What am I bitching about? How dare I? And I get that because believe me, I can get there on my own, But I don't know. I guess it's like this, my love, okay, for this band, at least, in the past, kind of like an old girlfriend, my love for this band was so strong. There's an expectation there, and honestly, it wasn't really met. I was a little disappointed that there were certain songs they didn't play, like to name one, that stands out, Where the Streets Have No Name. You know, I think, I don't care what anyone says, you know, people can like or dislike that song, whatever, okay? But let me tell you something, all right? I've written a few songs myself. I mean, I have an idea of what it takes to write songs. And I could argue, probably, that Where the Streets Have No Name is probably one of the best songs that's ever been written, okay? And go ahead and disagree with me, because I don't care. I don't. I can argue it. I really do think that song is... It's more than just music, okay? It's beyond that. It's transcendent. It's excellent. And they didn't play it. Like, you know, the one song I would probably want to hear more than any other, and they didn't play it. I couldn't believe it. It was like, you know, they finished playing, you know, good night, and the show just kind of like ended. Like it just went like, bam, we're like, that's it. You know, they did an encore. They came out and did maybe like 4 songs, maybe a little bit more than that. And then that was it. The show was over and they were gone and the lights went up. And I'm like, wait a minute. They're not going to play Where the Streets Have No Name. Like, you've got to be kidding me, right? Oh, you know, what can I say? The tickets were free, okay? The tickets were free. And no one has ever gifted me something that expensive before. I mean, especially concert tickets, you know? I don't know. Just, I'm grateful, you know? I'm grateful to this person that gave us the opportunity to go, because I would never have bought those tickets. I mean, I would not have gone at all. The only way I would go, what does this mean? You know, like the only way I would go to a U2 concert now is if the tickets are free. I can't believe it. I mean, Mike Bostwick has changed. You know, something has changed when that's the case. Trust me, you know. I say it half kidding, but it's really kind of true. You know, what can I say? You know, it's one of those things, like, especially, you know, it just makes me think, okay? It just makes me think that there are certain bands that, like, operate on a certain level when it comes to talent and songwriting and creativity. And I could name several, you know, that are high functioning bands. Like when it comes to making songs and everything, you know, a band I could cite would be like Flaming Lips, you know. They're so good. I mean, they're so good. And every time they release something, it's really good. And I would imagine that, okay, because I've thought about this a lot, I would imagine that it has something to do with the amount of fame and fortune that comes their way as a result of being famous singer-songwriters, you know? Like, I'm convinced of this, and maybe you know what I mean, and maybe you agree with me. It just seems that, like, especially with a group like U2, over time, they kind of lose their rocket sauce, you know? They don't really have the same mojo that they used to have, and I'm not sure why that happens, okay? It's just, you know, they don't write songs that are intense anymore, at least to me, okay? Their songs sound, even though they're new and they're recorded in state-of-the-art studios with state-of-the-art production and spare no expense, you know, the songs still, to me, sound like flaccid, you know, like, and I don't know if that's just me or what, but that's the way it seems. And U2 is not the only band that I could say that about. It's like they lose something by transforming from a, you know, successful rock band to like superstardom. They start to lose something. And I would imagine it has something to do with maybe they're not hungry anymore. You know, they're not on fire for it anymore because they're comfortable. They're writing from a different place. They're coming from a different place. And I don't know, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. They seem to kind of lose the magic, They lose the magic. And unfortunately, for me, as like I said, probably the world's biggest U2 fan at one point for a very long time. I don't get anything out of their music anymore. I don't. Their older songs are phenomenal. I mean, it's almost like it's two different bands, When you listen to The Unforgettable Fire, the whole album, and you compare it to anything they've done in the past 10 years, it's like, is it even the same band anymore? It's the same four guys, But man, it just seems to me that they have lost something along the way. And I guess, this Singularity's gone about as long as it should go, probably. I could probably talk about this all afternoon, but I shouldn't. So I'll leave it there. And it was nice talking to you again. It was. And sorry about this gap, I'm working it out. I've been working on a handful of projects. Okay, I'll just tell you really quick. I've been working on a handful of projects. A lot of them are video projects, and they're kind of like coming to their completion. So it'll probably be back to the Singularities and probably even the Interesting Actual. Okay, I'm rethinking the Interesting Actual, how I want to do that, and rethinking the Singularity a little bit too. And I also have a lot of new music that I'm working on right now. So just keep your ears to the ground, and thank you for your patience, everybody. All you loyal listeners out there, all 5 of you. Take care of yourselves, hang in there. I'll be talking to you soon again. I'll come up with something. I won't make you wait very long for the next Singularity. Anyway, so for now, this is Mike Bostwick from Pipe Choir Records signing off. And remember, folks, if you want to keep what you've got to give it away. Take it easy.